Yeah, like that. That's what I want to. I definitely want to get your take on that, man, because I see these guys like they're trying so hard to holler at these girls like through the Instagram, to the dating apps, and
Right.
all this other stuff too. Where it's like I'm always saying like your best assets that you have, right, aren't your 5 pictures, right?
Right. Right.
Or it's
Mm.
it's not just your text game or whatever like that. But when you could go up in person, it's like I use a funny analogy. It's like if you're showing up to a battle with a water gun, right?
Mm.
That's like trying to get her attention on Instagram versus like
Right.
you showing up with a full army and an
Mm.
arsenal in
Right.
person, right? But yeah,
Right.
I'd love to get your take on it. What you think about trying to get to women online versus like meeting them in person.
Right. Well, the thing is this, if unless you're the type of guy who I always tell guys, it's always good to do as many things as you can. So,
Mm.
approach women in the street, hit them up online. If you got a social circle, like exhaust all of your situations. But as far as the difference between online and actually like just approaching women in person, you're always going to get quicker and results because you have so much more to work with. You know what I'm saying? So the thing with online is you just have your pictures and your message. And so unless you're like, an extremely good looking dude, or you know how to have like really good pictures and you dress well and you're going to catch a woman's eye with that, unless you're doing that, you're not going to match with that many women. And then even if you do match with that many women, because of myself, I'll give myself an example. I match with at least maybe like on a good day, maybe like let's say on Tinder, like 20 to like 25 girls on Tinder. You know what I'm saying? A day, right? So now out of those 25 girls, I might end up seeing like 2 or 3. You know what I'm saying? Out of that, you know what I mean? So it's still a numbers game either way. But for the average dude, let's say he's only matching with one girl a day or even one girl a week, that's not really gonna help you as much. You know what I'm saying? So for most dudes, the best bet is to go outside and just use online dating as like the supplement. Like, okay, I'm going out, I'm interacting with women, I'm going to events, I'm going to parties, I'm going to the club, I'm going to bar, wherever you're going, talk to those girls. But in the meantime, while you're at home, you're just chilling. You can do the online thing, but I always say don't use that as like the main thing. Like, and the only guys that can afford to do that as the main thing are guys who is getting like 30, 40 matches a day in it. You know what I'm saying? And even with those guys, I would tell them it's also better to like still go out there and interact with women, because you always want to have that as the basis of your game. You know what I'm saying? That's where like most of the skill comes in. That's when most of that energy comes in, because even if you meet a girl online, you still got to meet her in person, and then you still got to know what to do. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. You said a lot of great things there. And the first thing which you said, which is like, you tell guys to cast a wide net, right?
Right. Right.
So approach women during the day, approach them at night, go to the meetups, go to, do all that stuff. And then you could do some online stuff at night too. But the problem, like you mentioned, is when guys solely put all their eggs in that basket, right?
Right.
And they're like,
right.
look, I'm just going to get on these apps. I'm just going to do that. And then they do that because I think it's easier, right?
Right.
Easier to stay home and sit on the couch and be like, look, I'm going to swipe around, or this girl looks hot on Instagram, I'm going to send her a message. Where like, how it is. If you see a girl on the street, chasing her down to go and approach her, or even in the grocery store, or, going out to an environment where there's some social pressure, right? And having to approach women there, I think that's a higher barrier to entry. But where, as we know, with just about everything in life, right, where there is a little higher barrier to entry, meaning it takes more skills, right? It takes a little bit more balls and a little bit more work. You're going to get much more of a reward because there's going to be a little less competition for that as well too, right? So,
right.
And like you said as well, I mean, I agree, man. You're bringing so many more assets to the table when you could do that. But I like what you're saying. Like, you might as well do a little bit of it here or there, right?
Right.
But don't get away from the foundations. One thing I tell guys is, like, when guys ask me for text game advice,
right.
What should I message girls? What should I say to girls on dating apps and this other stuff? I used to always say it's a reflection of what your game is.
Right.
It's just an extension of your game. And the way you practice your game is by going out and having those in-person interactions. Because like you said, you're going to have to get them on a date or whatever down the line at some point. So you want to practice that. And I tell guys, I'm like, look, I've been sober my whole life. I don't drink, and I don't really like being in a bar or a loud club or anything like that. But like, there's a lot of girls there, right? And there's a lot of opportunity to mingle, to chat. There's also, you know, there's a lot of volume. Like, it's consistent. I could go out on a Friday, Saturday night in any city, and I could find a place where there's going to be a lot of women. So when I'm talking to a guy who wants to get better results with women, who wants to improve his game, wants to improve his skills, the thing that's going to improve his skills the fastest is time in interactions with women, right? The longer and the more experience he has face-to-face with women, working on his flirting, working on screening and qualifying, escalating, whatever he's trying to work on, right? His conversation skills, the more time he has face-to-face to do that, the quicker his game's going to get. And like you said, with that core foundation of having, you know, good game and knowing what to say, it'll make your dates easier. It'll make your texting easier, and it'll amplify even the results that you get online and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's how I feel about it.
Now, that's real talk. And you know what else is the thing is, and I always tell guys this, is that part of the learning process of, you know, learning how to do it and making it work for you is going out there and doing it. So a lot of times what happens is because, you know, they'll watch people like myself and like you who teach how to approach women, how to interact with women, stuff like that. But I always tell guys, there's only so much we can teach you, meaning that part of their learning is themselves being in the situation with the girl, because they have to learn it for themselves. They have to learn how do I feel when I get rejected? How do I feel when I'm interacting with this girl? How did it feel to do this thing that got me the result? And I did it again and I got, you know, better results. So it's like, those things are stuff that they only can learn by doing the thing. So a lot of times the guys are scared to go out and do things because they're scared of the rejection part of it. They're scared of, you know, they're scared of their ego, because a lot of time, truthfully, this is what I noticed. A lot of guys, they already think women don't like them. So they think that approaching women and interacting with women is just going to confirm that they don't get liked by women. So this is why they're scared of the rejection. They're like, well, I don't want to go out there because she's just going to reject me like the last girl. But what they don't understand is the rejection is part of the process. You're supposed to get rejected. You shouldn't be scared. Like, that's supposed to happen. So understanding that it's supposed to happen will give you a different perspective of saying, well, let me go do it anyway, because it's going to happen anyway. Just, you know, the next one could be the yes. You understand? Or the first one could be this. You don't know. So a lot of guys stop themselves from doing it. So like when we talk about online dating, they're looking for easier ways out so they don't have to deal with that, because with online dating is not any type of like upfront rejection. Or what else is the other thing is that they don't actually have to put in the same amount of effort it takes or the same amount of courage it takes to approach a woman just talking to a girl online. You see what I mean? So this is why a lot of guys, you know, they try to just do that. But I'm telling guys that if you go out, going out gives you way more, because look, when you go out, the girl is in front of you in real time. When you're online, you text the girl, she probably text you tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Like, or not at all. But when you're in person, in face, and you know, in front of the girl, she actually gets to feel your energy. She gets to see your personality. She gets to feel that vibe between you and her. You understand? Like, there's a lot of stuff she doesn't get to experience while looking at your picture online. She can't, you know, hear the tone of your voice. She can't feel your energy. She can't really get your personality. You know, all these different things that increase your level of attractiveness. Like the other day I did a video, I was talking about 5 different types of attraction, and most guys think it's just about your look. And your looks can have it plays a part, but what they don't understand is that women have so many other things that make them attracted to a guy. You understand that increases a woman's attraction and makes a woman want to fuck. Because like this, I always say this, just like how we see a woman, let's say we see a girl and we're like, she's okay, she's decent looking. Then let's say you get into a conversation with her. Let's say y'all start talking. Let's say she starts flirting with you. Then she starts to look a little better. You're like, you know, she's not that bad. I'll take home tonight.
That's very true.
So women are the same way. They're like, oh, this guy seems cool. And you start talking to her. You start saying shit that make her laugh. She starts feeling you. And then she's like, oh, I like this guy. Same thing. But you can't, that doesn't translate well over online. You see what I'm saying? So it just doesn't work that way. You know what I mean?
That's a great point, dude. And I've actually been thinking about that recently. And it's good to hear you say that, because like, I know that there's been girls I met where like, Yeah, and like how many girls you go out and you're like, okay, she's attractive, she's attractive. Like there's attractive girls around, right? But after you vibe with them, right, and the
Mm-hmm.
chemistry's there, right, and you connect on something else, the girl starts to become way more
Yeah.
attractive to you,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And I've had the opposite happen too, and I've told this story many times. Like I remember I was out one night and I saw this girl. I mean, she must have been a perfect 10. This little blonde girl, like must have been in college, something like that. Super, super, super cute. And I was like, man, I gotta approach this girl. So I walked over to her and her friend. I started talking to him, and like one word responses,
Mm-hmm.
no, like terrible energy, in a bad mood. And I was
Right.
like, yeah, you know, I thought she's attractive, but man, I couldn't spend 20 minutes with this girl. I couldn't
Right.
spend 10 minutes with this girl. I was like, this girl is so lame. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
she like was terrible, versus I've had girls like, okay, she's cute. She may not be a supermodel, but man, after I start talking with her, we vibe and we have a whole nother chemistry and connect on a different level. So that's really important. And like you said, you can't really show that offline, right? Or show
Right.
that online, right? You can't show that just with your pictures. And another thing I was saying to guys too is like, you know, you have to do a lot of work just to get one of these dates. You gotta
Mm-hmm.
swipe a lot. You gotta
Right.
get your
Mm-hmm.
matches. You gotta hope she responds to the first message. You gotta hope she responds to
Exactly.
your other message. Then you gotta hope that
Exactly.
she's gonna come meet you out in person, just so
Right.
you could get a shot to
Mm-hmm.
see if just so you can get a shot at that moment that we were just both describing, right? You can get a
Mm-hmm.
shot to sit across from her. And I know I've had this, I'm sure you've had it too, where like I've had girls I've met online, I got together and I'm like, man, this girl sucks, right?
Right.
She's never
Right.
good, and the messages were okay, whatever. But I'm like, damn, like we got no chemistry at all on these dates. I'd say, you know, sometimes that could be 50% of the dates where I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like, I lose attraction for the girl once I meet her. And that's why I tell
Right.
guys, I'm like, look, when you approach a girl, it doesn't have to be necessarily that you got a rejection, right? It can be that you approach the girl to see if you guys vibe, to see if there was chemistry. And if it wasn't there, that's like your
Mm-hmm.
first date, right?
Right.
So the
Right.
approach is like your first date. And you're like, okay, is there
Mm-hmm.
something here or not? And you could literally, I mean, especially if you're a beginner and you're not that great at like turning things around, you could tell in the first minute or two if anything's there or not. And you
Right.
could
Right.
approach and be like, hey, look, do we have something here or do we
Mm-hmm.
not? And if you don't, you move on and go talk to somebody else.
Exactly.
That's the best part, right? And you didn't
Mm-hmm.
have to message, you didn't have to swipe, you didn't have to
Right.
pull her leg to try to get out to get
Right.
out. You know, you didn't have to try to chase her or anything like that. You can kind of just walk up. One thing you said in one of your videos I was watching recently, which I loved, was you were talking about chasing girls, right? And you were
Right.
saying that approaching women is not chasing. And I
Right. Right.
love that.
Right.
I love
Right.
that. I thought that was so
Right.
cool. I've been telling people that ever since. It's like
Right.
approaching women is not chasing. Approaching women is just walking up and then saying, hey, let's see
Right.
what's going on here, right? And
Right.
then, but chasing is sending extra messages, trying to get her
Mm.
out, you know, trying to get her
Right.
attention, you know, liking her
Mm.
pictures, replying
Mm.
to her stories. That stuff is chasing, right? That's
Right.
going too far. Where like approaching is not chasing. It's just going up and saying, hey, look, do we get along or not? And as you
Mm.
know, when you do a good approach and it clicks with that right girl, there's no chasing at all. It's just
Right. Right. Because you know what it is. A lot of times, the difference is that when you see a woman and you approach her, that's just you, sort of like in pursuit of that situation, right? So now, if she's reciprocating the interest, then y'all make it happen. Now, chasing only occurs when, let's say, for example, you might even get a girl's number, right? And then you text her, and then she doesn't reply. And then you text her again the next day, she doesn't reply. And you text her again next. That's now you're chasing. You see what I'm saying? So chasing only happens when the girl is not showing interest, and you keep trying to get interest from her. You keep trying to make it happen. And a lot of guys, what the problem is they think that by when they keep going, they're going to get the girl. Now, sometimes once in a blue moon, it'll happen where, let's say you keep chasing, and then because you caught her at the right time, meaning let's say she stopped messing with some other dude, or now
yes.
at the moment, right? But usually that doesn't happen. Usually she's just not interested. She'll end up blocking you or whatever. And so I tell guys, look, it's all about interacting with women, seeing which ones are interested, and then you keep going with them. If they're not interested, you just fall back and save your energy to talk to other women. And that's an important thing. You got to understand that all of this takes energy. So you're wasting your energy interacting with a girl who doesn't want you when you could have saved that energy for a woman who did want you. And so even dealing with a woman who wants you still takes energy. So you still have to conserve that energy in order to make that happen. And also another point with the whole online thing is what guys don't understand. And I talked about this before, is that um, guys have to understand the psychology of this thing. When a woman's looking at you online, and also when you're looking at her online, you're looking at her through a specific medium, meaning that she's looking at you as if she's looking at a magazine or a television show, whatever. She's looking at you through media. So because she's looking at you through media, because she's looking at you through that medium, subconsciously she's looking at you the same way when she was younger and she used to put up Backstreet Boy posters in her room, Justin Bieber posters. So she's looking for Justin Bieber. She's looking for the Backstreet Boy online.
Yeah.
So this is why a lot of times when they do those experiments where they have like a good-looking model and they swipe on Tinder, like, look, women only want looks. No, of course they want a good-looking guy, but it's activating that subconscious desire for what they've been conditioned to want looking at that medium. So the thing is, even with myself on my photos with my online my Tinder and all that stuff, I have photos that look like professional photos. You know, at least I always tell guys at least have one. Like you don't want to have too many because sometimes they think you're fake. And I've had that where women I was like a fake guy or whatever. But you dress nice, you get a professional looking picture. That's going to increase your stuff because on a subconscious level, that's going to catch her attention. But even within saying all that, that also shows how picky women are online, which in turn makes it harder for you to get the women online if you don't know what you're doing. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So you can have like a little thing where, okay, since I know what type of pictures to put on, I can do this to increase the amount of matches. But then even once you get that, now like you said, it goes to I got to message her, and she has to message me back, and then we got to set something up, and then you see what I'm saying? And then, so it's still work. And I think guys think that that online is easier work. But if you think about it objectively, it's actually harder work if you think about it. Because a lot of times when I've went out, I talked about this before, I went out to events, meetup events, to different things. I talked to girls. One time I talked to this girl. She came inside of the event. She just walked in. I saw her at the door. We're still standing at the door talking. And we talked for maybe 15 minutes, and then we left. So she didn't even really come in. We left and went back to her place, literally like that. And that's after 15 minutes of talking to her and approaching her. So the thing is, that can happen online in certain situations, but the chances of that happening on a consistent basis online isn't as quick as if you know what I'm saying, approach women in the street, at a bar, at a club, wherever you're trying to approach them, at a party, wherever. It's always going to be more, it's always going to be a faster process when you're approaching in person, period. Like, there's just no arguing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a great point, man. And one thing I tell guys too is, like, imagine like me or you in a venue where there's a lot of attractive girls and we get 1 hour to approach and talk to girls, right? Versus me and you are on our phones and we get 1 hour to swipe around. You know what I'm saying? Like nothing could happen in that hour. You couldn't even, probably realistically meet somebody in that hour unless, they live right next door or something like that, right? So like with that hour, it's just much better spent. Because I know I talk to a lot of guys, and one thing they say to me is, I'm real busy. I'm real busy and I don't have a lot of time to meet women and whatnot. And like you were saying before, yeah, maybe in the evenings you have some time, you can swipe around on your phone, do some stuff. But I tell guys, if they want to get more tangible results and they want to do it in the most time efficient way possible, go somewhere that has some volume, get your approaches in, run your game. You could do that in, you do 2 hours on a Friday night, 2 hours on a Saturday night. You could line up dates and all that other stuff, or, do whatever that night if you could, from putting that amount of time in versus trying to swipe around and whatever all the time. And like, I mean, you're right. Like, if you do a little bit of it and supplement it, that's cool. But the issue, like we were saying, is when you just get fixed on that.
Use that as the main thing.
As the main course, right? Where that should just be a little sprinkle on top. And another video that you filmed recently was you were talking about, you and your boy were talking about like these kids coming up nowadays, with the fucking incel shit and the MGTOW and guys, I mean, every time someone's like, oh, there was a shooting. Did you hear about the shooting the other day? Or there's like, oh, there was a suicide or something. I always say it was a guy, right? It was a guy, right? And like, every time it's a dude. And like, I think about that, and I think about these kids coming up and these young men and this next generation and stuff like that. And these guys are so programmed to use their phones. They're on Snapchat, they're on Instagram, they get on this online dating and whatnot. And you said in your video, you're like, man, game would save these guys, right? Like these guys just having some game, not only to approach and talk to a woman, but how about making friends with the dude, right? Having some friends. Like the Harvard study on happiness, the longest study ever done, they said the number one indication of happiness is quality relationships, right? And the quality relationships are in person and spending time with people, right? One thing I said to my buddy the other day, I'm like, think about the happiest moments in your life. I said, how many of them were by yourself or were on your cell phone? Right? And it's like, it's never that. It's all about connecting with people. So like, that's why I'm always such an advocate of like meeting women in person, because the skills that you get, like you were saying, like learning how to get over your fear of rejection, learning how to carry a conversation, learning how to talk and connect with somebody. That's going to make you more guy friends. That's going to make you, grow your business. That's going to make you have those real life rich experiences. So, I mean, that's just my kick, man. I just think that is much better.
With that is that I think what it is partly, even when we talk about like with the incels and the MGTOWs and all this other stuff, the issue that they're having most of the time really is they're not like taking responsibility for themselves as men. And I try to preach about manhood, meaning that like, see, there's a thing where you look at yourself and say, what could I have done better? Or what did I do wrong in this situation? Or what is it about me? Like, don't worry about everybody else. Don't even if you think it's not your fault, think about what did you do in the situation for this situation to happen. So even like, for example, where, like I was having like, some issues with my girlfriend, and I was like, damn, what did I do? What, like just straight up, like, first thing I said was, what did I do for this situation to happen? You know what I mean? And so then it starts to make me think inward and say, okay, yeah, I probably could have did this better. I shouldn't have did that. I should have been, more upfront about this and honest about this. And then so it makes you grow as a person, but it also makes you take responsibility so that you're not looking at it or blaming anyone else. You see what I'm saying? And so that's part of manhood that people got to, understand. And so the thing is that a lot of these guys, a lot of the incels, because even the word incel means involuntarily celibate.
Yeah.
You understand? You're not involuntarily celibate. No one's making.
We know that. Yeah, you could get your ass off the couch, man. Don't tell me it's involuntary.
You see what I mean? And that's what I'm saying. Like shit like that, where it's like, oh well, I'm involved. No. You're choosing to be celibate. You understand? You're volunteering to be celibate. Nobody told you can't. You know what I mean? And so, because even this is the funny part. I've heard that some of the incels would say, I've heard this on a bunch of occasions, because people's like, well, why don't you just like, go to another country, pay for some prostitutes, whatever. And they say, well, I don't want that. I want the girl to like me. I don't want the girl like a girlfriend. So if they could actually have sex if they want, but they're choosing, hey, this is the way that I want to do it. And that's fine. That's fine if you want it like that. But it's still your responsibility to get it. You see what I'm saying? It's your responsibility to make it happen. So they're looking at it as, well, I was born looking this way, or I'm born this way, so therefore I can't get a girl. And I'm like, that's BS. You know what I mean? And so unfortunately, a lot of those guys, they haven't really had, because, it's funny, they said, I think a lot of those shooters or whatever didn't have like a father in their life. You know what I'm saying? So they have no male figures. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They have no male figures to tell them like, yo, like chill the fuck out. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and understand what's going on. So a lot of this stems from them not really taking responsibility as men, just being a man and saying, okay, what am I doing in these situations to cause myself to be in the situation I'm in? And so that one thing within itself is always constantly trying to make yourself better, always constantly being on top of yourself so that you can get better in the situation. Because I tell people like, hey, look, I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. We're always constantly trying to improve, get better. Be the best version of how we want to be. All this other stuff, but that comes with actually really looking at yourself in the mirror. You see what I'm saying? So to say, well, I'm involuntarily celibate, that within itself is already reinforcing the thought process that you have no power, that you have no control. So every time you say I'm an incel, that you keep saying that you have no power, you have no control. And people don't understand how powerful the words are, how powerful your psyche is when it comes to, you saying these things and you participating in these things and you feeling like, well, I can't do anything. I'm a victim and all this other stuff. And it's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying?
It's crazy, man. You mentioned some great stuff there, dude. And it's like, by saying they're involuntary, right? It's like they're not stepping up to the plate, taking responsibility, and not participating in their own life, right? They want to have those excuses. You know, I remember when I first started my journey, it's already 12 years ago, I got started in this shit. And I was fat. I was overweight. I had a lot of social anxiety. I didn't want to go to bars. And like, even when I started learning, I wanted people almost to feel bad for me. I was like, but you know, this is hard for me, right? Like, but I'm fat and I have to work so hard. And like, doesn't this suck? And I was playing the victim card. I remember there was a day, I think it was like a year into my journey. And I just said, dude, no one gives a shit how hard it is for me. Nobody gives a shit that, you know, no one's going to feel bad for me. No one's going to care that, you know, I put on a bunch of weight or I have social anxiety. People only care about the final product. And I just got to fucking own it. Forget all the excuses, forget my shortcomings, whatever, and just make it happen. Because if I want to have an experience of life, I have to make it happen at all costs, right? And I know I get them on my channel. I know you get them on your channel too. You get those comments, right? Like, oh, but I'm not a good looking guy, or I'm over 40, or but I'm short, but I'm black, but I'm white, but I'm Asian, but I'm Indian, I'm this, I'm that, right? And there's always these excuses that everybody has to not take action. And it's like, dude, and one guy I was replying to and trying to tell him, like, he said he was over 40. I was like, dude, my wingman is 40 and he does great. Like, like, oh, you're Asian. My best friend's Asian. He does great. I got a best friend who's under 5'5" and he does great. You know what I'm saying? And then there was like, what about me? What about me? And then I tell him that quote. I'm like, whether you say you can or you can't, you're right. Right. So like, there's always excuses for everything, man. There's always an excuse.
And it's funny because they'll see, like you said, you're like, look, I got a friend like this. I got a person like this. And they see this outside in real life. They're like, oh, but I'm not that good looking. They'll see a guy who's, you know, they would consider uglier than them with a girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? I see this every day where it is funny because sometimes this is what made me realize that it's not just about looks and all this other stuff, because back in the day, I used to model for Polo Jeans back in the day, right? So this is like when I was like in my early 20s. And so I used to like hang out with, you know, certain women who were models and all this other stuff and everything like that. And so I would think, and this is what I used to think back in the day. And I had this thing that I called pretty boy syndrome, where like you think just because women think you're handsome or whatever, that you're entitled to, you know, the girls, like they're just gonna want to fuck with me. And so what happened was, when I would get rejected and certain women wouldn't want to deal with me, I would be like, what the fuck is going on, right? And then so I would see other dudes who I thought were like less attractive than me with girls I wanted to be with. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, how the fuck you get that girl? And so that's what made me say, like, it's not just about the looks, man. You know what I'm saying? It's literally not just about that, because I'm like, I'm seeing too many examples, and they'll say, oh, it's because they have money. You know? No, I've seen guys who don't got shit. I know these dudes. I know some of them personally who have hot women. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm saying that all of these, you know, like all of these like examples are out there. So if the guys actually go out and see what's going on, it's like, it's there. So then it's like, what's the excuse? If you see this guy who's short, you see this guy who's not that good looking, you see this guy who doesn't have a lot of money with women, how come you can't do it? And so what they'll do is they'll keep coming up with excuses. Oh, well, maybe that short guy has money, or maybe this, you know, it's something else. It's always something else, because again, they don't want to look at themselves. Nobody wants to look at themselves. And so what I tell people when it comes to the game is, I say everything you have in your life, you know, as far as money, success, women, friends, whatever it is, all of that is a reflection of your game. So if you are not where you're at, or if you're not where you want to be, you're not making the type of money you want, you're not getting the type of girls you want, you know, it's a reflection of your game. Like me personally, there was a time where I was messing with a lot of girls, but they were women who I would consider like not that awesome to me. Like I was like, she's okay. She's not that physically attractive to me. I feel like I could do better. And deep down, I felt bad. I was like, I could do better than this. Like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I even dealing with this girl? And part of it was because, you know, I was in my comfort zone. I was like, oh, I know I can get her. It's easy, whatever. So I was more comfortable with that. So then I had to literally make a choice and say, if I want to do better, I got to step it up. You know what I'm saying? I got to be better in order to get better. So the thing is, or to receive better. So in order for you to get better, you have to receive better. So like you were saying, you was like, you used to be overweight, and then you lost the weight, you got in shape or whatever. So therefore, once you're getting better, you're going to end up receiving better. And that's the thing that guys don't understand, is that in order for you to get at a certain level, you have, or to receive certain things, you have to be a certain way. So I'm like, okay, if you want that hot girl, are you the hottest version of you? You understand? Meaning physically, mentally, emotionally, are you on point with yourself so that you can attract? Because that same girl you want, she wants somebody hot too. She wants somebody interesting too. And so what happens is that guy, that average looking guy you see with the hot girl, to her, he overall is attractive. And this is why we're telling guys that we have so many other things that make us attractive that's not just looks. So a guy who's not the best looking dude, it's not over for him, because it's not just about that. It's about the way you feel, the way you dress, the way you act, your personality, your energy. All of that stuff matters to women, luckily for us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I be trying to tell guys, like, look, you have all of this to work with. So once you step it up, and a lot of it too has to do with your mindset. I would say the mindset is the most important thing generally, because your mind, your thoughts are going to become your actions. So if you think you can get the girl, you're going to approach the girl. If you think you can interact with that girl and get her number, you're going to approach her. A lot of times I have clients who are good looking dudes who have trouble getting women because their mindset is all over the place. You see what I'm saying? So it don't matter how good looking you are. A chick could even be checking you out, but if you're too scared to approach her, because she most likely want to approach you, nothing's going to happen. You know what I mean? And so that's the thing. It's like your mind is going to be the thing that's going to get you from here to there. And that's what dudes got to understand. So it's like, a lot of this really comes from dudes really just stepping it up if they want to get to that next level. You know what I'm saying?
That's a great point, man. And, I tell people, I'm like, look, once you understand the basics, the foundations, right? How to approach, maybe how to flirt and tease and whatever, not like that. Like, it's all your mindset. Right. From there, it's the faith you have in yourself, right? You think you're worth that other girl, right? The other things that you've been doing in your life, right? Like the most powerful asset that you have is you right there in person, right? How you're looking, sure. What you put on your body is a choice, right? Like that's huge. Your fashion, how you present yourself. But beyond that, your energy, your vibe, that's all stuff that you can control. That's all a manifestation of your thoughts, of your experiences, of your references. We all know that person who we just love to be around, right? That one person's like, man, this person makes me feel good. They're fucking funny.
Yeah. Right.
They're smart. I ask them questions. They have a lot of knowledge, and you're like, damn, that person's awesome. So I tell these guys, I'm like, think about that person. Who is that person? I think about that. That's somebody who cares about me and just pays attention and is interested, somebody who's present and in the moment, somebody who has a good sense of humor and can give me good emotions and make me laugh, somebody who's smart and has some knowledge, right? Somebody who has social skills and can meet and talk to other people, right? Somebody who is confident in who they are, right? Somebody who's non-judgmental, right? All these qualities and these characteristics of someone that you like, those have nothing to do with looks. Right. They have nothing to do with any of that, right?
It's funny. It's funny. I didn't mean to cut you off, but what popped in my head too, and this is what guys don't understand, is for women, let's say you have a really hot woman, right? Hot girl. For her, it's nothing. I've said this before. It's nothing for her to get a good-looking guy. You understand? Like she's used to good-looking guys because she's used to having an abundance of men, period, that want to get with her. So that same woman has most likely been with this good-looking guy, that good-looking guy, and all this other stuff. And even between those good-looking guys, what separates them a lot of times is their personality, the energy, the type of person they are. So what happens is that she overall is not necessarily impressed just by that. So the thing is, this is why you'll see a guy who's an average looking dude with a really hot girl, because that average looking dude had something different than the other last good looking guy she was with. You see what I'm saying? So it's almost like this, like because she can have it and she's had it, it's not that important. You see what I'm saying? What's more important is, let's say the last good looking guy she was with was, an asshole to her. You understand? Like he was just the worst boyfriend or whatever. So now the most important thing to her is being treated right. You know what I'm saying? So now she gets this regular dude who has confidence, comes up to her, he's talking to her, he's chilling with her, he's laughing with her. She's like, I like this guy. He makes me feel good, just like you were saying. You see what I mean? Like, I'm around this person that makes me feel this way. And so that's what makes a lot of women gravitate to those guys a lot of times too, because they're not impressed just by the look, because it's like, yeah, I've been with a good looking guy, so what? How do you make me feel? That's the top priority for me as a woman. And that's what guys don't even understand, is that the feelings is what makes a woman even attracted to a man overall at the end of the day when it comes to everything all across the board. It's like, how do I feel? Because even when a woman let's say a woman sees you, she thinks you're physically attractive and she gets horny and she wants to have sex with you that night. That's still a feeling. That's an emotion. Yeah. She's excited to want to have sex with you because she's that turned on or whatever. So everything that comes through a woman and why she does things is how she feels. Even the opposite is true. This is why a woman may flake on you. A girl, you may be in a room with a girl about to have sex and she doesn't want to do it anymore. It's because her feeling has changed. You see what I'm saying? And so that's the thing that dudes got to understand, is that the feeling is very important. You know what I mean?
It's huge. And there was 2 guys that I learned from back in the day when I first started, and they said that they're like, good emotions trumps everything else. Like giving good emotions is the most important attraction switch, right? Like if the girl does feel good around you, and it's funny you said that, like a guy who looks good and is in good shape that maybe she's sexually attracted to, she may feel good about that, but even those guys can drop the ball, right? Because if they're not confident and they don't know how to move things forward, or they're complicating that process, right? And the girl will be like, man, and then she'll lose the emotions for that guy. Like, yeah, he was good looking, but he's an idiot, or he's an asshole, or he's not confident in himself, so he doesn't even know what he's doing. And then she'll lose those emotions. So that's a really important one, man. And like, that's another thing too. Like, even while you're messaging girls and want to meet up with them or whatever, if they're not excited to see you, or like you're pressuring them too much, or, God forbid, some of the guys, a girl will say, oh, I can't get together, and they'll get bitter and send like some bitter text messages.
Right.
Oh, that's fucked up or whatever. And it's like, dude, you want to just forget you want to forget whatever you were messaging her before. If she couldn't make it, you hit her up again the next time, like nothing ever happened. Right.
Exactly.
You never recall what went on before. You're just constantly positive. Like I think of some of the best guys I know. I think of one guy in particular off the top of my head. Two guys that like I've been coaches with before that just crush it, and they're so awesome.
Right.
3 guys now I'm thinking about. One characteristic that they all have is they're relentlessly and delusionally positive.
Right.
Just always good emotions, always happy. Even one of my boys, he's like, I'm going out tonight just to screen for good emotions, just to see which girls are in a good mood and have a good vibe, right? And just putting that out there and making her feel good. I mean, that's the number one attraction switch. And like we're saying, I mean, what does that have to do with your looks, right? You don't have to be the classical good looking guy. Yeah, sure. Hit the gym. Everybody should hit the gym. Everybody should be in shape. Everybody should dress nice. There's no way around it. You should take those. Those are gimmies for a guy, right? Everybody should work on all that stuff. That's all there for you, right? But besides that, if you're positive and providing good emotions, and you're actually fucking taking action and putting those good emotions out there and approaching and talking to women, like, you will succeed. There's no way around it. But when you're sitting there complaining about your looks, and you're complaining about how hard it is for you, and you're comparing yourself to other guys, well, he's good looking and I'm not, and this and that, all that mental chatter is just getting in the way from you doing what you can. There's a quote, there was a story and a quote that I heard recently that I've been thinking about so much. And it was from Wayne Dyer, and he said that ducks quack and eagles soar. So basically what he's saying is you could sit around like a duck and quack, oh, women don't like men and women are harder to pick up and they have all these options. Or you could just be like, fuck all that noise. I'm just going to soar above this shit and just, however it is, it's all good. I'm going to soar above this shit, take the action and do what other people aren't willing to do. And that's just been speaking to me so much, man. It's like, we could all waste this time analyzing and complaining and saying that things suck and all this. And it's like, dude, like, I feel those guys, like, yeah, it's hard for men sometimes, right? Like,
definitely.
You, like,
I mean, I've been in situations where, like, even what was it, like, even this week I was supposed to see like 2 or 3 girls and they all flaked. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna sit there and be like, oh my God, why always, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm like, yo, that's part of the game, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, who cares? Like, there's so many other women out there. So a lot of guys, they don't understand, and I think that's the problem, is they don't understand the reality of this whole thing. Meaning that all those things that they're complaining about is part of what's supposed to happen. It's going to happen, period, regardless. Like you're dealing with women, for Christ's sakes. You understand? Women, they change their minds like the wind. They're all over the place. They get emotional about certain things sometimes. So it is what it is. But the thing is, just like you said, where you have those friends that are just extremely positive all the time. They're not letting what the woman does make them send an angry text like, "Oh, fuck you, bitch," and why you did all that. It's like, no, like, I'm gonna still be me. I'm not gonna let what she's doing affect me in that way where I'm like, getting all angry at her. No, it's like, okay, cool. This is what you want to do. You want to flake? That's cool. I'm good on you. I'm gonna go to this next girl, and then we're gonna get it going with this girl. You know what I'm saying? Because the women who want to get with you, they're gonna get with you. It is what it is. But the thing is the guys have to understand and be centered in who they are and not let all these things get to them, because this is what guys do. They'll feel a certain type of way based off of the responses they're getting from women. So a woman might reject them, women might flake on them, and so they start to internalize that and say, "Oh, well, she flaked on me because I'm ugly. She rejected me because I'm a loser." And so once you start doing that, that starts the cycle of you having more and more low self-esteem. And then that makes it to where you become one of these guys that say, "Oh, well, this is all bullshit. It's because I'm ugly. It's because I'm short. It's because..."
They look for the excuse.
Cycle. And then it's like because this is the thing I always tell guys, your desire to get women is not going to just turn off. It's you know what I'm saying? It's not like you're going to just one day be like, "Oh, I'm good now. I don't even need..." No, it's still going to be there. You're still going to, you can complain all you want. Then Friday, Saturday night come, you're going to hang out with one of your friends at some place, and you're going to see some of the hottest women you ever seen. You're like, "Oh my God." And then what are you going to do then? You see what I'm saying? And then all that's going to happen is that because you had that low self-esteem and because you haven't accepted the game as it is, if you even muster the courage to go talk to her, you're most likely not going to get her, because in your mind, you're thinking, "Oh, well, she's going to reject me anyway. Oh, it's because I'm this, it's because I'm that." And I'm like, that's that cycle you need to get out of. You have to understand that, and this is something deep that I don't like to say sometimes because it fucks people's egos up. Is like this, is that if a woman doesn't want you, it's not because of you, right? But also on the flip side, if a woman wants you, it's still not because of you. You understand what I'm saying? And what I mean by that is this, is that the women who are going to choose you and want to get with you, it's because you are their type. You've done something to elicit that emotion within her to want to fuck with you, right? And the opposite is true. If a chick doesn't want you, you maybe weren't her type, or you may have done something to elicit emotion that made her not want to get with you. But understand that, don't take it personally either way, and all you have to do is do your thing, because, and this is why we talk about it's a numbers game, because you have to up your numbers to see which women want to fuck with you and which women don't. But when you start taking it personally, you feel what I'm saying? Then what happens is that you're attacking yourself and putting yourself down and making it harder for the woman who would have wanted to choose you. Because now you're making yourself more unattractive. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you make yourself more attractive by being positive, being confident, working on yourself, you're going to have more of the women who's going to choose you. But at the end of the day, don't take it personally, because it's still their choice to choose who they want to be with, just like it's your choice to choose who you want to approach. You see what I'm saying? And so don't take it too personally. And so that within itself will help you a little bit in the game, where you're not making it like a big deal based off of like, her rejecting you or her flaking or whatever. Because if she wants to make it happen with you, she's going to make it happen with you, period. You feel what I'm saying? So that's what it is,
Yeah, that acceptance is really important, man. I was out this last weekend, and we went out Friday night, and like, we didn't have a great night. And I was with my boy, who's really good. He was an instructor. He was my instructor actually 10 years ago. And we just had a bad night. And then the next day we started chattering, right? Like, what the fuck is up with maybe this city is fucked up. Maybe there's something wrong with women nowadays.
Right.
And we started like coming up with all these excuses and all this shit. And I told him, I said, but what about the scenario where we go out tonight and it's completely different? Right. And we just chalked last night up as, hey, look, that's part of the game, which we know, right? Bad nights are part of the fucking game. You've been doing this for a while. I've been doing this for a while, and I've been able to continue to do this. I know myself, because I understand that there's ups and downs, right? I relate it to like playing poker. Like
Right.
you could play poker and just get shit on in a whole session, right? And even if you do the right things, you could still lose. But
Mm,
it's the same with going out and meeting women. You can have a bad night, but the thing is, if a guy gets started and he has a few bad nights off the beginning, they start to think, oh, it's always going to be that way. And they just,
right.
they start to doubt themselves, like you're saying, and get into that vicious cycle where, I like what you're saying about being on your path, right? Working on yourself,
Mm,
improving yourself, accepting the way things are, and then putting yourself out there, obviously, right? And talking to women. And then if some don't like you, okay, you don't need to change you don't need to question yourself so deeply and hate on yourself so
right.
much because one girl didn't like you, right? You're
Mm,
just not her cup of tea. And at the end of the day, I ask these guys, I'm like, say you go out and get rejected by some 22-year-old college girl, right? And you start doubting yourself and saying what's wrong with you. Are you telling me now that her belief of what a good person is more important than your belief?
right.
Right?
Right. Exactly.
Like
Right.
her opinion of if you're cool or not, like her
Mm,
opinion of a cool person may be terrible, right? A cool person to her may be some fucking drunk guy doing keg stands, right? Who dresses like an idiot or something that's in her fraternity. Where like
mm,
you're working on all these other things about yourself and you think someone who's cool is X, Y, and Z, right? So you can't, like you're saying, take it so personally when somebody
right.
rejects you and
Mm,
because you're not fitting into their mold or their stereotype of what they think an attractive person is, because it may be
mm,
totally different from what you think it is in the same way, in your own way. And the thing is, we are trying, like you're saying, to find somebody who thinks this is awesome, right? Which is
yeah,
you, right? All
right.
those things that you're working on. And
Mm,
that's when you find someone who's on the same wavelength. So I'm just telling guys, it's like, don't look at it as a rejection. Just look at it
mm,
as a screening process. Like
right.
even an
Exactly.
approach is a screening process, right? Hey, we're
Mm,
going in and we're having a conversation. We're seeing if my brand of what I provide
mm,
is aligned with what you're looking for. And if it's not, like
exactly.
ultimately the women do the choosing, and that's fine. Like if you want women to choose you, you're going to be sitting around on your ass all day. No women are going to come up and choose you, dude.
Right.
That's
Right.
just
That's
the way
the
it is. So
that's
we've
another
accepted
thing
the way
too.
the game is. You got to do the approaches, dude.
Right.
You go
Right.
out there, you put it out, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But a lot of guys, their ego and their self-esteem are so fragile that they're
Mm,
afraid to put themselves out there. And I'm telling you guys, as a man, and just like what you said too, like, dude, I've been rejected thousands of times. I've met
mm,
thousands of girls who I was not their cup of tea. I don't get every girl I talk to, but the reason
right.
I'm successful, the reason my students are successful, and the reason that I can teach this stuff and help people out is because I know that that's the way this is. And I'm not trying to get every girl I talk to, right? They're not all awesome, right? And I don't get along with all of them. And that's totally okay. At the end of the day, you're trying to find people that you vibe with, right? And you're going to find
Right.
them out there, but you have to sift through and weed out the ones that you're not going to get along with. And that's
Mm,
just the way this game is. And like you said, you got to accept it. Plain and
that's
simple.
so. That's real talk. That's real talk. And the funny part is that, like I was saying earlier, is understanding that it's part of the process for a reason. Like you're supposed to, like the reason why you're supposed to get rejected is because one, it builds your character, because it gives you something to sort of like feel and experience, so that when you do get a woman who wants to date you, have sex with you, whatever, you're able to appreciate that experience. Because if you walked up to every girl and talked to her and every girl wanted you, that would not be good at all. You understand? Because I had a friend one time, he said, I wish every girl I talked to wanted. I'm like, no, you don't. Because if that actually happened, you would lose your mind. You go crazy, because that's too much energy given to you in one direction. That's not healthy. This is why, and I had one of my friends was talking about this too. He was saying that the reason why a lot of celebrities usually have depression and all this other stuff is because they have so many people thinking about them at one time, so many thoughts and minds thinking about them at one time. So all that energy toward them, it's too much energy on you. So therefore, you start feeling it. So the same thing happens even when you're dealing with women, and this is why I was talking about energy. Like, save your energy and conserve your energy for women who actually want to get with you, and don't chase the woman who's not truly trying to get with you, because you're wasting energy. So you know what I'm saying. So all of that is important. So when a guy's getting rejected, he shouldn't look at it as this bad thing. Look at it as, this is part of the game. This is something I'm supposed to feel, so that when I do interact with a woman who's interested in me, I'm able to feel that and appreciate that more when it actually happens. You see what I mean? And so the part that guys miss out on is that in their own mind, they think that they will never be able to get a girl. And this is where the incels come in. This is where the guys that, you know what I'm saying? So this is why they're trying to avoid it. This is why they're trying to, you know, find easy ways out. They're trying to find excuses. And it's like, once you accept it and embrace that this is just how it is, and this is something you're going to have to deal with, then the game becomes easier. Then you're actually more willing to do the work because you're not letting the fear of rejection stop you. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
you know, crazy, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I could talk to you for hours, but I think that's good. I think we got some.
Yeah.
I knew I was happy to chat with you, dude. You've said things that I haven't heard before, and you've said things also in a way that like have clicked in my mind. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's cool to hear you say this stuff from a different perspective, because it's it's awesome, man. You give me some good things to think about too.
Appreciate it, man. That's what's up. I appreciate you having me on here, and I'm gonna put this on my channel too. So whoever's watching this on my channel, I'm gonna have the link to your channel so people can subscribe to you too. You know what I'm saying? So we can definitely make it happen. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Awesome, man. Yeah, I love it.